Okay, for you cigar smokers, I don't know if I have any. This is Hoyo de Monterrey. Hoyo means hole in a sort of a vulgar way, because usually hoyo means hueco. Anyways, Hoyo de Monterrey. So the last time I smoked one of these, it was falling apart, maybe because it was dry. This one seems to be holding it together. The flavor is mild, and the aroma it's also mild. And I like it because they're short, and you know it's a quick smoke. So I've been wanting to talk about what's going on recently with these shootings, and I was surprised to hear that in a lot of places around the country they don't have background checks like we do here in California. I, as a gun owner and I used to be a member of the NRA, I don't mind doing a background check because I have nothing to hide. Um, I mean, if anybody can just buy a gun, anybody that's not right in the head, I mean, and also a minor. There was a video of a kid that was 13 years old. He went and bought a rifle at an auction. He paid cash and walked away with a gun. A 13-year-old. He didn't look like a 13. He looked like more like a 17. He's still a minor. That, a lot of people are gonna say, "Oh no, you're gonna take our rights." No, but you have to kind of balance things out. I mean, if if an insurance company on an automobile, uh, they cannot insure you if you're under 27. How can you buy a gun when you're 13? I mean, there's a lot of things that are not allowed if you're under a certain age range because you're not adult enough to handle. So all these kids that are driving around, they're under their parents' insurance. Okay, when you get to 27, and I think that depends also on the insurance company. Who knows, Prudential, Mercury, who knows who. Maybe they have those rules, but I was thinking that maybe all of them are like that. But anyways, you can't rent a cabin also if you're not on a certain age. So there's a lot of things you can't do because of your age until you get to that certain age, 25, 27, whatever. Then you can do what you want to do. But you cannot buy a gun if you're mentally retarded. And people were saying about some of these shootings that the guy wasn't right in the head. He was kind of quiet and da da da. And those are the guys that then blow up. The quiet ones are the dangerous ones. Uh, Remember the saying, the barking dog doesn't bite? There's a lot of guys, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and they don't do nothing. But if you have one sitting in a corner, kind of looking away, he's the quiet one. Those are the ones you gotta be careful because he won't say nothing. He'll just do it. Like a dog that doesn't bark, he'll come right behind you and snap you and nip you at the heels. Those are the ones that you have to be careful about. Same thing with people. So I agree on. I didn't know that in Texas, because I'm not really finding out the stuff from other states. I mean, whatever they have is what they have. But I thought that the background check was mostly around the country. Now it turns out that we're a few people that do it in California, maybe Florida, or I don't know if, but I think Texas doesn't have that, and they're really, really hanging on to that. They don't want to report it. And I said, well, I understand you don't want to tell the government what you have. I understand that part, but man, all these nuts that are killing people, and it's just happening one thing after another. Did you see the guy that went and shot the doctor at the hospital? He walked in, or was it a stabbing? I'm not really following it, but I think it was a stabbing. And I said, well, how do you go through the metal detector? It's because in those places, They don't have a metal detector at the hospital. Some hospitals here do, the main ones. You go through it, and if you go teet teet teet, they're gonna say, "Excuse me, empty your pockets and stuff." Same thing when you go to court. You go to court to pay a ticket. You have to go through a metal detector, and they have to empty your pockets, and what do you got here, what do you got there. So I usually got a pocket knife, and I just show the sheriff I got a pocket knife. He goes, "Okay, leave it here and pick it up on the way out." Okay, to me it's not a big deal, you know. But these people are buying guns. Uh, there has to be a better control, because what's going to happen is the following: if we don't agree on having some sort of a age limit, like over here it went from 18 to 21. A lot of people were against it. I said no. You need to be an adult when you buy something like that. You're not buying a rake. You're buying a handgun or a rifle or a shotgun. You need to be at a certain age so that your mind is a little bit mature. Even though a 21-year-old, being male or female, not mature. Not mature. Some people have a different levels of matureness and different ages. Some people mature at 40. That's when they actually mentally settle down. They don't explode right away. They don't, you know. I heard about this young cop. He was 22, and he got next to the on the side of a car with a gun in his hand, yelling out the window, "Pull over the car! Pull over!" And shouting, and the driver's going like, "What the hell's wrong with this guy?" Because the power goes to his head. He wasn't supervised. He didn't have a sergeant or a partner next to him to say, "Hey, calm down, you idiot! What the hell are you doing? You're gonna get us in trouble." When he's alone, and I think he lost his job or he got reprimanded or something. But things like that happen. Things like that happen. One time, my dad got pulled over. He was in his working truck pickup, and there was a young guy with a sergeant. And my dad was taking medicine, and I think he forgot to take the medicine, and he started. And my dad, he's not a drinker. He never smoked in his life. He detested it. When I started smoking pipe, he would look at me and say, "Oh, yeah, that smell. Okay, get away from here." Yeah, you know. So my dad wasn't that type of man. My dad was a hard-working man, nose to the grindstone. Never had a drink. Maybe New Year's he had a little bit of champagne, or not champagne. We drink sidra, which is cider, and that has less alcohol than champagne. Champagne really gets you tipsy if you drink enough of it. But anyways, he got pulled over because he was driving. He was swerving a little bit, and when he got off the truck and went to the side to talk, and the young cop was like this with the side stick, the baton. He wanted to whip my dad over the head with his thing, and he was saying, "He's on drugs. He's on drugs." And the sergeant kind of, my dad said that the sergeant gave him a look. If I was my dad, I would have said, "Are you a doctor? So shut the hell up. You don't know what the hell you're talking about." So my dad explained to him. He says, "Look, can you tell your guy to calm down?" He says, "I'm ill, and I forgot to take my medicines because I had to rush out the door, and I really forgot. And I'm sorry if I was doing that. It just came and went. I'm not dizzy all day long. I'm on my way home." And the sergeant, when he saw that, he talked to him, and he was fine, and he wasn't drunk or anything, because I think they gave him the breathalyzer. He said, "No, he's fine. He just forgot to take his medicine." So, "Okay, if you can make it home, go ahead, but don't drive around without your medicine." He goes, "My dad, no, I understand." So he left. But that kid wanted to hit him over the head and beat him up, thinking, being that he's a doctor, thinking that he was on drugs. So, and why was he like that? Because he wasn't mature. He's a young guy. Power goes to his head, and he thinks he's going to fix the world. Okay? No psychology, no intelligence, because these guys that get the training for 3 months and then they kick them out, they don't even know half the laws. Their job is to give you a ticket, make money for for the for the department, and arrest you if you did something. You know, if you're drunk driver, good, I understand. If you're under a drug influence, I understand. Take them. If they caught you robbing or you had an accident under the influence, or if you're beating somebody, arrest them. Fine. But just don't assume that everybody is a druggie because they don't look well. And that's because up here, half a brain is not working because it's not mature. So if that is with a cop, that they're supposed to train him and teach him things, they're still too young to really grasp. What do you think is going to happen when some bozo in Little Hicktown walks into a store, buys a gun, he says, I'm going to shoot my teacher because I didn't like the way he talked to me in third grade, or whatever the reason is? That's where you need to have some control over this morons, because if we don't do anything, then the pendulum is going to swing the other way completely, and it's going to be no guns for anybody. Look what's happening in Canada. They just declared that it's going to be illegal to own a handgun and to purchase a handgun. They're going to start taking guns away. Of course, they don't have the Second Amendment. I don't know what they have up there, but I know they don't have a Second Amendment. Over here is going to be a lot more difficult, but they're going to try because they've been trying for years. So as far if you're going to go that way, no handguns. The Yemen was saying no 9mm. Okay, well, you tell your guards, your bodyguards, to hand turn in the 9mm. Like, is that going to make a difference? They're going to switch it, what, 38, 357, 45, 40 cal? They all do the same damage. 9mm explodes your lungs. What an idiotic thing to say. They all do. They all do. What do you mean 9mm will collapse your lungs? Like it was, oh, it's a terrible bullet. A 22 would do that. If it bounces enough in there, it will kill you. So when I heard this guy, they don't know shit about nothing, and they're the guys running the country and pushing laws that they want to do. Because the main objective, and I'm going to say it again, I've said it before, is to control you and take a gun your way. When the guns are gone, the country is gone. There's no republic. There's nothing. They're going to take everything how they want it, when they want it, because you have no way of fighting back the government. And that is the reason that the Second Amendment exists. It's not to go hunting a fish or anything else. It's to protect you against the government and the enemies of the Constitution, foreign or domestic. It says it on the Constitution. The founding fathers were really smart. I admire those people. They're really smart, and they argue this for 13 to 15 years in the Senate or in Congress, wherever they were arguing, to come up with this document. They didn't just do it overnight. Yeah, I got an idea. Let's No, there were a lot of going back and forth between them. And they finally got it done in peacetime. It took 13 to 15 years, one of those two, to get this bill passed through and signed and accepted by everybody. And it was okay. Back then, it was okay for them to say, yeah, everybody should have a gun, because they knew that the British wanted to try it again, and they did in 1812. So people had guns and they can go and fight. Well, the same thing could have happened when Hirohito wanted to invade the West Coast, and Yamamoto said there will be a rifle behind, or there was a gun behind every blade of grass, because he knew the American public was armed, mainly with Winchesters, but a rifle is a rifle. So if you have an invasion, the army is busy throughout the country, divided. You got a group here, you grab it, so you don't have enough to go around. Who really is going to defend the towns and the cities, the coast? Is going to be the civilians. The civilians. Some people know that. Some idiots don't want to admit it. and they say, "Oh no, take away the guns and everything will be fine." Are you dreaming? Nothing's gonna be fine because they think that the level of lifestyle is going to continue with or without it. I said, no, it's not. Same thing with socialism. The level of medicine is not going to be the same with socialism if you have a doctor you have to pay. You think a doctor is going to go through college for 5 to 6 years to charge a crappy amount because you don't want to pay? You want the government, which is us, you want the government to pay for all your stuff? The government should help, but don't pay for everything because then you're going to have crappy service, everything's going to be crappy. Because what's the point of having a career on something that it doesn't pay? You think you're going to like working there? No, you're going to be treated like a dog. Probably a dog's going to get better treatment from a vet. So what I'm saying is, that the situation with the guns and the shootings, which are always going to be, look how many shootings happened when Obama was in power. So you cannot sell a gun to a underage kid. You cannot sell a gun with somebody that has mental problems because they probably have a record already of visiting the doctor. He could be a hypochondriac, he could be a schizophrenic, he could be anything. But the thing is this, legally, it's not allowed for law enforcement and medical records to merge so they can look it up and say, okay, you've been to the psychiatry and you got da 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 da. I'm sorry, you cannot buy a gun under those circumstances. And that is not allowed. It should be. That's, that's kind of walking on ice. It should be and it shouldn't be because privacy and all that. But I think that if you have a medical record that says that you're not mentally stable, that record alone, not everything else, if you have leukemia or if you have diabetes or if you have whatever, that goes to a data bank where the agency that does the background check for you to buy a gun says, okay, put your name in there and your social security immediately pops up and say, okay, this guy, he's under treatment, he's taking this medicine. No. I think that should be legal, to be honest. Some people don't like it, but sorry, there it is. Because the other side of the coin is no guns for nobody. We're going to lose everything. You have to give a little bit to keep it, because if you don't, we're going to lose it all. And a lot of people getting in your face, no, because you're. I said, listen, a gun doesn't go off and shoot on its own. It's the nut behind the gun. And that's what they don't want to admit. They don't want to admit that. They want to say, no, all guns are bad. All guns are bad. No, well, guns are bad if you're using it in the wrong way. A gun is a tool. There are more murders committed with a hammer than with a gun. There are murders committed with cars. There are more murders committed with knives and machetes. They're just not reported that much. So, but they want the gun. Why? Because the gun represents their blocking of the taking over. That is the only thing holding them from taking it over. Because once they take that, how are you going to go against them? Let's say that the government becomes tyrannical and nobody likes it, and you get big groups together and you want to change the government. You want to legally, that is permitted. It says it in the Constitution. It is your citizenship right to overthrow a tyrannical government. And if you have a tyrannical government, the only way you can overthrow it is not by throwing roses, it's by throwing bullets. That is written in the Constitution. You have the legal right to overthrow it, or change it, or modify it or something. But you cannot do anything like that if you don't have nothing to fight with, because verbally they're going to just wipe their rear and ignore you and not do anything. Anything. That's why in France, back in the was it 1779, I think it started the French Revolution, because the king and the queen were having parties and they were spending. I think I heard that they spent $55,000 on a party on a weekend back then. Can you imagine 55,000? You know, the pheasants and the pig and the meat and the cakes and everything else for everybody, and the champagne was flowing, and the people out there that were starving eating rats. They got fed up with it and they rose up with sticks and machetes and whatever they can find, you know, and they assaulted the palace, got the king, the guards took off, they killed some of them, and they decapitate them. That happened in France, and the French government is afraid of the people. The American government is not afraid of the people. They should. They should. If they keep doing their crooked stuff that they've been doing for years, lying and dealing and wheeling, practically selling the country by pieces. There's a lot of things that people don't know, but this country is not really owned by Americans. Not the whole kit and caboodle. This country has sold. Bank of America has land in California, acres and acres and acres and acres. Saudi Arabia owns the reservation. They bought it. Well, they bought the rights of all the food that's grown there goes to Saudi Arabia. People don't know that. All the cereal companies, Kellogg's and Frosted Flakes, Denmark, they own all of that. There's a lot of stuff that is not owned by American companies. They're from Europe, and they're from Asia. So they've been doing this stuff under the table. Okay, a lot of people don't know about it. But what I'm saying, getting back to the gun point, if the country does not have, if the people doesn't have guns to protect themselves against an evil government, the country is screwed. And look what happened. Let's start back with Hitler. He took away the guns so the Jews couldn't defend themselves. Concentration camp and gas chambers. The Russians took away the guns in Poland and Czechoslovakia, all those places. They were under the tyranny for, 50 a year, something like that. Cuba, they took away the guns. And Venezuela, they took away the guns. So if you don't have guns to knock out that government that is screwing your life and your family's life, you are screwed, because nobody else is going to step in. The United States didn't step into Cuba. They tried to do that little crappy invasion in Bay of Pigs. That was a joke. Fidel had a spy in the CIA and already knew they were coming. That's why you think that he had tanks everywhere. He had those tanks parked over there. I think he had a dozen. He had them parked over there because he knew they were going to be landing at the spot. It's a joke. So Fidel had people over there had 22s for hunting rabbits and shotgun for hunting ducks. There's no deer. I don't think there was ever any. Maybe back in Columbus, but there's no deer. So one day he gets up and this is when he's planning on staying, right, in government. He said, well, you don't need guns. We'll protect you against invasions and whatever. Against the Yankees, we got the guns. You don't need to have guns. So you need to trade him, bring him in. So hardly anybody went in and took it a gun. The following speech, like 3 weeks or so, He said, you got 30 days to train in your guns or you're going to get 30 years if you don't. And everybody knows who's got him. Oh, yeah, Joe over there, he goes hunting for ducks and duck hunting. And, Pepito over there, he has a 22 because I've seen him shoot him in the back in the ranch. So everybody training their guns. And now you don't have nothing to put a bullet in these people's head to get rid of them. Because haven't you ever wondered why are they in power and they haven't been overthrown? Because how are you going to do it? With a machete? With they should, but you need organization. They got everybody uh, under surveillance. Everybody. So that's what happens if you don't have guns in a society. You're not going to be free. Simple as that. So the gun is not about having the right to shoot somebody. It's about having the right to be free from tyranny. That's what the gun is for. The hunting, that was a given when they wrote the Constitution. Of course, you need a gun if you want to eat. Kill a deer, kill an elk, a wild pig, whatever. But they wanted to make it look. Oh no, because what do you need this for hunting? Who says it's for hunting? This is not for hunting. The AR-15 is the worst gun you can use for hunting. It's not for hunting. It's to fight a tyrannical government or an invasion. That's why Japan, when they knocked out Pearl Harbor, that was the next step, the West Coast. And they didn't do it because Yamamoto told them, we're going to get shot from every angle the minute we put foot on the sand. From every angle. Guerrilla warfare is the most difficult warfare there is than the one that they had in Iraq with the logistics and a lot of army, a lot of tanks and heavy artillery, and then you're running through the desert and you're bombing, you're shooting cannons and stuff. You don't do that in a tight city. You have to go door to door, and if everybody is armed in that city, you're gonna get popped. You're gonna get popped. But if you take the guns away, there's nothing to prevent them from doing it. Look what happened in the movie, the Wolverines. And they started fighting with hunting deer rifles, and then they got their hands on those AKs and the other machine guns, and they were fighting back the Russians. That's how you stop an invasion or an incursion into your territory. But if you're disarmed, you're going to end up behind that chain link fence crying and pleading for mercy. And that's what the guns are for. But the people think that the government's going to take care of them and everything is dandy because they know deep down, that when the shit hits the fan, they're going to want to have a gun. That's why every time there's something going on about reducing, controlling guns, they run, even the liberals, they run to the stores and say, hey, I want to buy a revolver, I want to buy a handgun or, shotgun, whatever, to defend myself, because they know that the police is not going to be there. There are not enough of them to protect everybody in the city. So everybody wants a gun to protect themselves. And that's what it's all about. It's about protecting yourself against different menacing dangers. Could be thieves, could be murders, gangs, governments, etc. So, but keep your guns, bring the age up so people that have a little more mental matureness can purchase a gun and don't blow off the handle and go shoot somebody because something they did a while back or something. England doesn't have any guns, and they have 8,000, 9,000 stabbings a year. England, you're not gonna hear that. So it's bullshit. People think it's nirvana. Oh, if the guns were gone, everything will be fine. No, it's not, because the criminals are gonna find the gun somewhere. Look at Chicago. They have no guns stores up there, and they still get guns. Why? They steal them. They go across the state. They get them somehow. They get them. It's not gonna be. This country is not an island like Cuba. That the only way you're gonna bring guns in is with a boat, and they're already watching for that. They see a weird boat coming in, and they go there and stop you. And if you have any guns, you're done. Either they shoot you on the spot, sink you, or they put you in jail for 100 years. That's why you can't get rid of those people in Cuba. People protest, they get kicked, they get punched, they get dragged into jail without going to court. They have no rights at all, and the government's still there. No guns. That's what you get. The reason we have rights is because we have guns. Think of that. The reason that you have a First Amendment is because the Second Amendment is backing you up. It's backing you up. Like Chappelle said one time on a show, he says, First Amendment is great. He says, but Second Amendment is in case First Amendment doesn't work out. I mean, you know, it tells you right there. One works with the other. You can have one without the other. You can't. So you remove one, the other one is next. The number one, you remove the number two, number one, it's gonna start. I mean, they're already doing it. They're already attacking the number one. Oh, you can't say this, you can't say that. That's offensive. That's da da da. You know, you can't say anything about anything. You can't say anything about anybody. You do anything. That's number one. If they take that away, you kiss your rear goodbye. Because the next thing is going to be everything else, including your property. You don't think that's going to happen? Come on, man. There are a lot of examples around the world that shows exactly that. Exactly that. It happened to me. It happened to a bunch of people. Thousands of people. Not just a few. Everybody. You live in the country. That house is mine now. You can't bring your aunt or your cousin or your uncle or your grandfather, whoever's there. You can't bring him in and let him live in your house, because someday, if everything goes back to normal, you can go back and recoup it. Which in let's say you die, your family is there. When they feel like it, they can sell it, make the money on the property. Or no, the government owns that property now, and they want to sell it, which they're doing. All these beach houses on the beach, on the best beaches in Cuba, they're been selling them, making thousands out of something that is not theirs. If you get rid of the gun, you're gonna lose everything. I'm telling you. They're gonna tell you what to do, how to do it. One day they're gonna say you can't drive any more gas vehicles. Gotta be electric. You gotta do it forcibly. Go and spend the money. They already did it on truckers. One day I'm driving and I'm noticing. I said, man, these trucks are new. I used to drive a truck down from the harbor, bringing up steel coils and rebar and not rebar, copper, bolts from Germany and barrels dunked in oil. I used to bring all that stuff in. I had two trucks, and they were old trucks. One truck was from the 60s, another was from the early, late 70s. Anyways, I'm looking at all these trucks that are brand new. Brand new. So then I noticed, and I mentioned it to a friend of mine. I said, hey, haven't you noticed that we haven't seen old Peterbilts or White Freight or none of it. None of those truck companies. Everybody's got a new truck, aerodynamic. You don't see the one with a flat face. They're all kind of angled down, pointing down. The Volvos and all that. Good looking trucks, very nice. Well, it turns out that I heard on the radio, some guy was complaining that the city or the state government made him get rid of his truck and buy a new one. So he had a truck that he probably bought it for let's say $15,000 back in the day. He had to sell it and now had to buy one for $150,000. So now he's up to here in bills, but plus everything else that he was supposed to take care of. Now he has to, and I think, to be fair, I think that the government gave him some money for the old truck, and I don't know what they did with it. They sent them to Mexico or they just took them apart. I don't know what they did with those trucks, but there are no old trucks in California, except the ones that are coming from out of state, and those are far and few to be seen. I mean, looking at the license plate, Colorado or Texas, whatever, all the trucks from here, they are new. They are not allowed to have old trucks driving because of pollution. Save the planet. Hey, they doing it already. They're telling you what to do. If you don't like it, they pull your license. You can't work here no more. Go out of state to work if you're gonna keep your old truck. So if they're doing that now, what do you think that's gonna happen when they take away the only thing that makes him think twice? Because I've told a few of them and say, hey, remember France? Remember the French Revolution? People put up until they blow up. So don't push, because you're gonna get pushed back. So this is the thing that they know they really can't push too hard. But I agree about about not selling guns to people that don't supposed to have guns. Because even though they're citizens, if they're not right in the head, you can't have a gun. I'm sorry. We'll give you a water gun, a toy gun. I mean, you can't please everybody. Now, people are going to say, well, how is he going to defend himself? Well, if he's really bad in the head, he shouldn't be on the streets anyways. Got to be in an institution where he's not going to harm anybody and nobody's going to harm him. Can't please everybody. It is what it is. So, the another thing that should be allowed, that in I think I read an article in a hunting magazine a long time ago. I'm talking, Jesus, must have been 77 or 78, that there's a town, a small town, not a city. It's a small town, I think it was in Pennsylvania, where the law said that you have to own and carry a gun to live in that city. And if you do, nobody's going to mess with you because you're loaded, you're packing. Who does the rapists and the robbers and the murders go after? The weak, the women, the old people, the children. That's why they go into, a wolf does not go into the lion's pen. It goes into the sheep pen. The little sheep are easy to get to. They're not going to go into the lion's den. And let me see if I get lucky with a lion. People are the same thing. They're the same way. They're not going to attack somebody that looks mean, tough, and he might be having a little side bulge and say, "Oh, this guy's packing a gun." Not going to mess with that guy because he's going to pop you in the head. And the thing is that when a murderer or a robber is going to approach somebody, they are more in danger that they're going to approach a police officer. Because a police officer have rules. and they have to follow the rules. Some of them don't. Um, the, uh, the robber, the guy's gonna assault you. He's gonna study you a little bit more than a cop, because a cop cannot just shoot him just like that if he's following the rules, you know. But a regular civilian, you just lift your hand to do anything, and boom, quick draw McGraw, you're gonna get popped, chest, head, and the balls, you know. And that's what they think about twice, because they don't know if you're packing or not. But if you completely disarm everybody, it's open season. Open season. How is somebody around my age is going to defend themselves against some punk that comes at him with a knife or another gun, if he sees that you're completely helpless and he likes your watch, or your woman has some jewelry and he wants to take it? What are you going to do? What can you do? So the mentality of the morons over here say, "Oh no, but that's not important. Let him have it." Yeah, really? I want you to let him have what you have, since it's so easy for you to say, because apparently you got a money tree in your house, which I don't. So if you want to give him your expensive diamond ring, just take it off and say, "Here, it's for you." You go right ahead if that's what you want to do. Why? Because that's the excuse. You know, some guy said they were having a discussion in a rally somewhere, and the idiot, I think it was in Texas, the guy said, "Somebody walks into my house, he's welcome to whatever I have." And the other guy, it was the pro gun guy, said, "Oh, really? You mean you don't care if they go in and take everything? You're just gonna sit there and let them do it?" He goes, "Yeah, because life is more important." They go, "Yeah, but how do you know that after he's done, he's not gonna pop you because you're gonna identify him? You dummy. Not gonna leave anybody behind that can say he did it, and then he's gonna get 10 or 15 or whatever years they're gonna get. Probably let him go in 3 months, anyways." So that's the mentality. They think that, oh, they're gonna leave me alone if I give them what I want. No, not if you look at the statistics. They assault women, and if the woman says, "Here, here, here, take everything," and then they want to rape them, and after the rape, they kill him because she's gonna ID him and say he did it. Put him in a lineup, pick him out, and go. He's the one. That's not gonna happen because you're dead. But these idiots, oh no. The more you give, the more they want. So I believe in being armed. I believe in carrying, even though I don't have a license. I'd like to give me one. I haven't. I haven't carried because I don't go to areas where it's dangerous enough to to have a gun with me. But I used to, because we had a shop in South Central, and man, that place on the weekend, that's open for business. When the riot started, my old man called me. He said, "Hey, are you coming down?" I go, "Yeah, where are you?" He says, "I'm down at the office." I said, "Well, what are you doing there? Get out." He goes, "Yeah, I'm taking some papers and stuff." And I said, "Listen, don't walk out. Let me go down there, and I'll walk you out with you, and I'll follow you back into the safe area, because that was the Wild West." And so I walked. I parked in front. I usually parked on the side. I parked in front where everybody can see me, and I got off with Yosemite Sam. It's a big Colt like this, so everybody can see the gun. And I knocked out the door. I said, "Okay, come out." And I had the gun in my hand with my thumb at the hammer. It wasn't cocked, but I had the thumb and the hammer just so people see that I had a weapon, so they don't try any funny business. So he got in his truck. We turned around and left, and I followed him. And I said, "Well, we're not going to go back to the office for until things cool down, maybe in a week. You know, we can call in and get our messages and respond to our clients." But I drove, I drove. Let's see, 15 miles away, or a little bit more, between 15 and 18 miles away from the hot zone. And I went to this architect's office, and she was crying. "Ray, Ray, they're coming this way." And I said, "No, they're over there. No, they're coming this way," because they were spreading out, they were burning and everything. And I said, "Well, come on, I'll take you and I'll follow you to your house," because she didn't want to be there, and she didn't want to be there alone. So she closed down everything, took some things with her, and went to the house. Now imagine if you're driving through an area like that, and you get dragged out of the car and beat up for no particular reason, just because you're not black, and they don't want you in the area. They think that you're stealing their neighborhood. We had a shop there. I wasn't stealing nothing. We're paying taxes in that city. And if you don't have a gun to protect yourself, and just kind of point it out the window and say, "Hey, leave me alone." Because some people did that. Some people did that. I know somebody that he was a painter. He was driving through that area, and somebody opened the side door to grab him, and I think he pulled a gun, and he shot. He didn't shoot at him. He shot at the ground, and the guy took off. A lot of that stuff was happening. Koreatown, they were shooting from the buildings. Police wasn't there to protect you. You have to protect yourself with your guns. Your guns. The army didn't, the National Guard didn't show up. None of that stuff happened. The police was gone. It's up to you to maintain your safety and your property, to keep your property. And they were shooting at people that they were showing up down the street. I don't know if anybody got killed, but you can see the Koreans up on the roof. They mean business. And the thing is this: I went to a surplus store deep in South Central. It was called Western Surplus, and it was really far from our shop. And they had AKs when the AKs used to be 180, something like that. And I wanted to see some hunting shotguns, so I went there with my brother-in-law. And I like the surplus stores, because they have a lot of old military stuff. We were looking at this stuff, just being curious, and we bought, that I still have it, a down-filled camouflage jacket, coat, to go hunting, duck hunting. And I bought those anyways, and I don't remember what I paid for them. And then I started looking at the shotguns and stuff, and then there was a guy next to me, and he said, "I'm getting one of those." And I said, "Which one?" He points to an AK. And I said, I wasn't too familiar with the AK back then. This is way back. And he says, "Yeah, because when the riot comes," and I said, "Riot? What riot?" He goes, "Oh, it's coming." And I said, "A riot?" So they already had the 68 riot. And then a month later, the Rodney King thing happened, and the whole South Central exploded. During the riots, that surplus store got burned down to the ground. They went in and they raided it. They took everything before they burned it. So there was a bunch of guns that disappeared, and I don't know if they were ever found. They're probably still circulating, in the area. AK-47, SKS, shotguns, rifles, handguns. They went in and they cleaned it out and they burned it. You can probably find a video about that. So that was a bad riot. And like I said, people when they can't take it no more, they start talking and talking and talking. And one day, it just takes a little thing to go off. Like the saying goes, the straw that broke the camel's back. It's just too much of it, and boom. Because they were already very tense. What happened with some other things, like the Korean lady that shot the little black girl that stole some orange juice and shot her with a 357. There was some other instances. The police was doing, kind of being abusive and that kind of thing. So people were just getting fed up with the shit. And like I said before, people take it the same way in France, and they take it until they can't take it anymore, and then they blow up. So when it happens, you have to have a gun to protect yourself because there's not enough cops to protect you. There's not enough cops. My dad was in the office by himself, and he was afraid to get out the door because he thought he was going to get jumped. They were just looking for anybody. The cars are going up and down, you know. And when I used to work at the airport, back then the freeway wasn't there, the 105. So I had to drive through the middle of South Central on Imperial, all the way to the airport. And the things I seen at night, because I had the graveyard, so I had to go through there 10:30, 11 o'clock. Sometimes I had to go around burning containers in the middle of the avenue. It's not a side street. In the middle of the avenue, a trash container on fire. And I look at the side, and the guys are jumping and hooping it up. It was Friday night. Let's have fun, that kind of thing. And we need to have a record of people that have mental problems, because all these shootings are not done from rational people. All these shootings are done from wackos, people that are not right in the head. Everybody, I don't care who you are, everybody has been done wrong by somebody. When you were a kid, when you were younger, a real estate deal, a car salesman that cheated you or lied to you, somebody that you lent money and never paid you back, somebody that everybody has been done wrong by somebody. You think you have the right to say, you know what, I still don't like what this guy did 20 years ago. I'm going to go shoot him. If you're still holding a grudge that far back, I mean, you got a problem. You need to talk it out and get it out of your system, but you don't go with a gun and shoot anybody. But that's what's going on. That guy that drove 200 miles to Buffalo, New York. He went to a black neighborhood and went in and shot. He shot the hell up, and he killed a bunch of people. What the hell's wrong with this guy? What the hell's wrong with this guy? If you don't like to live next to them, move. We got broken in a bunch of times. I never go out with a gun. I'm going to kill these people because they're stealing. This is the way that some people think. Doctor, because he was having back pains and he wasn't being cured. Did you see the picture of that guy with the eyes bulging out? You think that guy is right in the head? Everybody has been done wrong by somebody sometime in your life. It's the facts of life. What are you going to do? You're not going to go on a rampage. So, but you have the right to protect yourself. So the doctor, I mean, he can't be carrying a gun. They have to have some sort of security in the hospitals. Like I said, I went to a hospital oh man, it was a long time ago. Down by the coast out there, Torrance, or I don't remember exactly, Redondo, someplace out there. And I went through. There's a lady there with a desk, and there's a metal detector, and she goes, "Oh yeah, you have to go through here." And I said, "What for?" He goes, "No, for weapons." And I said, "I'm not carrying a weapon." Yeah, but we need to know. I said, "Okay." So I took out my keys and my chain, put it on the dish, and I walked through it. No beep. Okay, thank you. Give me my stuff, and I walked in. They're gonna have to. They're gonna have to do that. I mean, they've done it at the airport. That came later when this guy blew up a locker. What was his name? The Alphabet bomber or something. I mean, my post was next to where he put that bomb. But I missed going to work because I was feeling ill. I had like a cold, fever, and that kind of thing. And I called in and I said, hey, I'm not coming in today. So my post was about 30 feet away from the lockers on the uh, by the luggage compartment. Before you go into the luggage compartment, people walk through there. They gotta show a ticket, and then you let them in. And since I didn't go, a friend of mine got placed in my spot. And when the bomb blew up, which by the way, it took the arm off a a luggage guy, a black guy that I knew, real cool guy. He almost got killed, but he lost his arm. Anyways, my friend got the explosion, picked him up and threw him 14 feet, landed onto the carousel, and cracked his head open. He needed like 14 stitches. That would have been me if I would have gone to work that day. So uh, the conditions change, and the country is changing with it. There's more security, and there's more, more vigilance, and more things that have to change because things are happening in our society that didn't happen before. Before people used to live with the doors unlocked and that kind of thing. Those days are gone. Those days are gone. You have to be careful uh, when you go to a store and you park. You go to the mall or whatever. You got to look around. Is that a van? Don't park next to the van because uh, the door opens on the right of the van, slides open, and you park on the right side where you get off and start walking back. Somebody in there could open the door and put a gun on you and just drag you in. If it's a girl, a lot of that happens. Or just tell you, hey, between the two vehicles, nobody can see anything. You have the gun, so give me your money, give me your wallet, give me your keys, give me everything. So things like that, you gotta take a look around and don't be the victim. Be sharp, be observant of what's around you because conditions change. Um, I got a cousin that she one time broke down on the freeway. I think it was at Santa Monica. She had a little Toyota or something, and the car just died. She pulled over, and back then there was no cell phones or anything, so she didn't know what to do. So she just stayed in the car, waiting to see if there was a police coming by or a tow truck or anything. And three guys got off and parked right behind him, and they were knocking at the window. Open the door! Open the door! They wanted to take her, and she started screaming. Okay, she really was scared because she thought that they were going to, yank her out. She locked the doors when she saw those people coming up, and she wouldn't open the door for anything. And she says, "The police are coming," because they used to have those call boxes. I think they still do. And she made him think that she made a call already, and the cops are coming. So they got in the car and left. They weren't there to help her. You're overheated. Is your car running? What happened? Nah. They're there to take advantage of the situation with a weak person, small, I'm talking small, 110 pounds, 115, uh, and they wanted to take her for a ride, if you know what I mean. So now she carries a gun, and she can use it too. She can use it. And the husband the same way. They carry guns in their vehicles because it's better to go to jail than to go to the cemetery. Simple as that. Sometimes just by showing a weapon, it clears the situation up because people say, "Hey, pfft, back up, leave." You know, you have to be able to have your own weapon to protect yourself, and you should have the right to carry a gun with a permit. But in this city, even though the Supreme Court said it's allowed, if you want to go and get a permit in LA, they'll drag it for years. Oh no, we need that, and then what do you need it for? Are you a jeweler, or do you carry a large sums of money? And where do you live, and where do you go? And they just don't want to give it to you. In Orange County, all you have to be is a resident of Orange County, and they give you the permit. Same thing in I think in San Bernardino, but in LA, I got a cousin that he's a sergeant in the police force, and I say, "Why don't you try to give me a permit to carry a gun?" He says, "I can't." I said, "Well, why don't you talk to your captain?" He goes, "He won't. He's under orders from the top. Because if he does, he's gonna say, okay, why this person? Who told you can do this?" Because the LA government, together with the state government, they don't give a shit about the Constitution. It's what they say on the highway. Now, a long time ago, I was cruising through YouTube, and I saw a video in Spanish from this guy in South America, I think it was, or Central America. I think he said it was Colombia, I'm thinking. He said he had this dream that it was so real that it could have been that he was semi dreaming but awake kind of thing. And he said that Jesus showed up, walking up with his white gown. And it's funny, everybody that sees Jesus is always with the same white gown. He doesn't have a different wardrobe. Anyways, but he was coming and walking along with two other beings. Um, they look human, but with animal heads. One has a ram, and the other was something else. And he said, "Don't be alarmed. They're with me." Um, and he says, "I want to give you a message for the for your people, so you can pass it around, something like that." And he said, "In the future, before the coming of the Lord, things are going to start happening that are not the norm." And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "Well, a lot of people are going to lose their minds, and they're going to start committing all kinds of acts, criminal acts. And then it's going to get worse. And then there's going to be I think the 7 years." And guys, I am not a religious fanatic. But anyways, he says it might have been the 7 years of tribulation. That's the beginning of the 7 years of tribulation. Every year is going to be bad and worse and worse and worse. Now, when I see all this stuff happening in the news and all these shootings and murders, Every day there's something. It's now like one every 2 days we're having a shooting somewhere. That it used to be once a year. Now it's like very, very often. That's too much. I remember that guy. What he said, that people are going to be losing their minds, out of control, doing things that is not the normal way. And that's what's happening. All these people that are committing all these crimes, killing children, beating up old women. Come on, man. Doing all kinds of stuff like that. Going after the weak. It's always going after the weak, not the strong. Look at that. Study it. It's always the schools. Okay. Um, every time I see something like that on the news, I remember that guy, and I say, you know what? That dream or whatever that apparition that he had, it's true, because it's not a coincidence now. And I saw this video about 6 to 8 years ago. There has been some shootings before, but this is getting worse. No, I think it was 10 years ago, but 10 years ago. So it's getting worse, and I got a friend that he goes into the bad areas to fumigate, and I say, hey, are you carrying a gun? He goes, yeah, I have to, because they see me working alone with my little bottle, spray bottle, and they're gonna say, hey, easy pickings. He's got a nice Toyota Tacoma. They can just put a gun to his head and say, I'm taking your truck. Or take the chemicals. It's not the same. The country is changing, has changed, and it's going to keep changing, and it's not going to be for the better. Not for the better. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go and think about that. And like I said before in another video, if you have a piece of land that you can dig a hole, start digging. Because we're going to need to hide somewhere. Start digging a hole. Okay, guys, I'll let you go, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.